Story 1. I don't know about others, but my 79-year-old super pro-Trump neighbor has stated outright, I'd rather live under a dictator than a Democrat. So I don't know. Feels about right. Story 2. Why post here? Go to the conservative subreddit, and you'll see, or just browse Twitter for 5 minutes. They are beyond thrilled with everything he's doing. Sure, some points may have raised eyebrows, but they deeply want all of this. The government is broken, Trump is the savior. Ukraine is in the wrong. Canada should be annexed. They genuinely and deeply believe this to be true. Scary as a Canadian. Plus, it's exhausting. I've already uninstalled Twitter and banned a bunch of conservative subreddits. Edit. Corrected a grammatical error to clarify that I've already uninstalled Twitter. Also, wow, this blew up unexpectedly. I won't be responding to individual comments, as there are way too many at this point. Hope everyone has a good night. Story 3. I'm sure he didn't say that. He doesn't really mean it. Looks like you have a case of Trump derangement syndrome. Orange man bad. All the conservatives I know say this sort of thing. Nothing will change their mind. Story 4. Take your pick from their limited selection. 1. He's joking. 2. He's not joking, and I support it because I'm so darn angry about factors on the current 24-hour news cycle. Insert deflection or counterargument. Story 5. I am a Republican but never voted for him once. Today I had a day off, so I went down and changed my voter registration from Republican to Independent. Not so much because of this comment, but I should have done it a long time ago. The Make America Great Again cult does not represent traditional Republican values, so I left the party. Story 6. They do this kind of thing because there are zero consequences with their own base, and they know it will rile up the rest of the country to no end. It's literally just the White House posting provocative content. This is what conservative voters want. They knowingly voted for and are happy to be governed by incompetent individuals. Story 7. Trump knows it will upset the liberals. That's all he needs to do to get the Republicans to support everything he does. A conservative will harm themselves if it means a liberal will have to experience the consequences. Story 8. He is trolling. Try harder, leftists. He put out an executive order to do just that. Executive orders do not have any real power. He shut down an entire department and froze billions in aid money, including cancer research. I do not care about foreigners starving or dying. We should take care of our own. That included funding for the homeless and those unable to afford food because they are low income. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So, is he trolling or not? Story 9. I think it is extremely telling that most of his followers are enthusiastic about the founding father, yet they applaud this. This is one of the main reasons they created term limits, checks, and balances. Opposition to monarchy is a founding principle of this country. Story 10. I don't care what Republicans think if they still support Trump. He's a traitor, a confirmed rapist, a serial adulterer, a racist, a bigot, and a convicted felon. Story 11. They don't care. I'd honestly respect Republicans more if they just admitted they want a dictator as long as he does what they want. Please just admit that democracy means nothing to you. Then we can start from there, agree or disagree, rather than having to deal with disingenuous mental gymnastics. Story 12. How many times do we have to go through this before people accept that there will be no gotcha moment for Trump supporters? It is a cult, and they don't care about anything you can bring up. Story 13. I saw a meme a couple of weeks ago. Question: how many supporters of Make America Great Again does it take to change a light bulb? A none, because Trump tells them it's fixed and they clap in the dark. That's been my go-to saying for any time I see anything going on in the United States that makes me raise my eyebrows. Oh look, the supporters of Make America Great Again are clapping in the dark again. But what happens when someone actually changes the light bulb? Story 14. It's just a word. He didn't mean it like that. He's just triggering the left for fun. In short, whichever line they last heard from Fox, One America News, or Newsmax. Story 15. They do not freaking care. They are all for this. Trump can do no wrong. They do not give a damn about our republic. All they care about is hurting people. They are the biggest fools who ever existed. They are stupid, vain, and short-sighted. They do not care about our country. They do not care about the most vulnerable among us. They are idiots, and they support the idiot in chief. Story 16. To all those who say he is trolling, you are right. He is, but we should expect better behavior from our political leaders. It is weird that people are okay with him acting this way. The President of the United States should appear politically neutral to a point, as they represent the whole country, including those who voted for the other person. We would not have tolerated this behavior from Harris, and we should not tolerate it from Trump. Story 17. Here is your answer. A comment from conservative. Story 18. What I've noticed at the subreddit conservative is that even if they have a slight criticism of him, they can only say so after they profess their undying love for him. If they don't say that first, they aren't conservative or supporters of Make America Great Again and will get downvoted. They crowned him a long time ago. Story 19. The ones on Facebook are saying it's a joke and that it's working because everyone's triggered. Even if it were true, imagine the highest office in the land joking to this magnitude. I can't even imagine the chief executive officer of my company sending out jokes officially to the entire company because he's a professional and it's a serious role. Story 20. A real king fights in battles. Donald Trump is a coward who faked a bone spurs injury to avoid serving in the military. Trump and his voters are cowards. Story 21. Why don't we just give ourselves back to King Charles? It seems we fought a war for no reason. Or, if people really want someone like that, we can promote Harry. At least he supports evidence-based mental health treatment. Story 22. I'm fairly conservative and it really bothers me. I have always thought Trump is a terrible choice for any elected position, but the ingredients you have bake the cake you get. Story 23. I've never been particularly partisan, but I spent about 10 years as a registered Republican. The party I was registered with no longer exists. I didn't abandon my party abandoned reality. Story 24. They do not care. If it does not affect them personally in a negative way, they love literally everything he does. He could stab puppies to death, and as long as it is not their own puppy, they do not give a care. Story 25. I definitely don't want their opinion. The time to discuss why conservatives align themselves with Nazis, fascists, and dictators has long passed us by. Neoliberals keep encouraging the world to have discussions with people who don't believe other people have a right to exist. They would have people in camps commit crimes against humanity and overthrow democracy while we all discuss it in a committee. The reality is that these Make America Great Again people are a dangerous hate group who would be absolutely fine with the elimination of anyone who they don't like. They want suffering for their enemies and would make excuses for Trump's final solution if he goes that far, just like they justified Elon's Nazi salute and Trump's new concentration camp. How can anyone who cares about others have discussions with those who support cruelty? We don't discuss the why with serial killers, terrorists, or mass murderers. Make America Great Again is growing into a group that will be remembered by history for the atrocious acts it will commit. Their cruelty knows no boundaries, and they deserve the downvotes and ridicule at the bare minimum. Story 26. Republicans of Reddit are foolish. They are over in their flared subreddit praising each other and enjoying every second of the collapse of our democracy. Story 27. In 1776, we left the king. We do not have a king or a president right now. We are a nation in crisis with no real leader. And our current leader can go away. Story 28. The ones that knew what he was are happy he is being a king. It's exactly what they wanted, and they got it. The ones that only heard propaganda and didn't know what he was don't believe it, but they still support him because the media told them to. The only ones that regret it are the ones that are personally affected, fired, or otherwise, because that's the type of people who vote for Trump. Complete lack of empathy for others, would watch the entire country burn if it meant they could stay warm. Story 29. I'm not really a Republican, but I did support Donald Trump, and I am not very happy. I would rather Joe Biden have gotten another term than what Trump is doing now. Politicians really only have to keep you happy up until they are elected. Story 30. If it's any indication, the official White House Twitter account posted this shortly after his post. I don't think that they are worried at all about it. Story 31. I do not understand what you guys do not understand. They are not going to answer. They almost never do. Any pushback and they shut down and reseed into their safe places like the conservative subreddit, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. They do not want to hear reason. They do not want to express any empathy towards their fellow countrymen. They want you to hurt. They want to own you because they enjoy seeing you angry at this stuff. It is not all Republican voters, but it is definitely most of them on here and on Twitter. Story 32. Republicans would gladly burn this nation to the ground as long as it hurts people they hate. They don't care that if we burn, they burn with us. Our suffering is worth whatever suffering they must endure. Story 33. They will never answer here. All they do is hide in conservative environments in their echo chamber and downvote and report any posts like these. It's almost like they know they are wrong. Story 34. I am a British person on a work trip to the United States. I have just stepped out of a taxi. The driver, who I would say was a 60-year-old American, was crying truly when talking about the state of the United States and how troubled they are. His view was that traditional allies of the United States need to turn away from them. The whole thing is surreal. Story 35. Is this a rhetorical question? We all know the answer to this. Donald Trump could literally do anything to them for 8 years straight, and they would thank him for it. They are not exactly thinking clearly. I would bet a month's salary I could spend an entire day polling people who willingly admit they still support Donald Trump, and I bet I would not find a single one willing to criticize anything he has done since being elected. They are all lost causes at this point. Story 36. I think that any true American should be scared. This is not what our country is about. I don't care what your political party is, and if you think this is great, then you don't know what it means to be patriotic or American. Story 37. He did not say that. And if he did not mean that. And if he did, you did not understand it. And if you did, it is not a big deal. And if it is, others have said worse. Story 38. Being the king of misinformation and stupidity seems about right. But yes, enjoy your Burger King crown. I had one when I was 5. However, you don't see me bragging about it to everyone. What a fool. Story 39. Go read The Authoritarians. It's practically prophecy at this point, but you will understand that they are not only okay with this, they love it. To be clear, though, they only love it if it is their authoritarian. If it was someone else, they would be losing their mind. It sounds hypocritical, but it's not when you realize that their values have nothing to do with what function a president should have. Their values are self-righteousness, and they will follow whatever authoritarian they believe reinforces their self-righteousness. So asking if they would be okay with someone else doing the same, the answer would be no. It sounds hypocritical, but it's actually perfectly consistent with their underlying value. It's a personality trait as opposed to a thoughtful position on civics. Story 40. They explain it away as a joke, but this is what they really want. They would rather have a 78-year-old diaper tell them the sky is green than use their eyes and critical thinking skills ever again. Story 41. I am hesitant to say Republican anymore. Conservative is all I can muster. I'd say for every one thing Trump does that might be good, he does and says anywhere between 10 to 100 things bad. It's too much for me to keep up with. Story 42. You are not going to get answers from the people you want to hear from, my friend. That being said, I am not a Republican, but my Republican coworkers all repeat something along the lines of better red than Democrat. Story 43. They do not care until it is truly hurting them. Until they lose their jobs, their welfare, and their homes, none of the consequences are real or matter. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Niemöller. Story 44. For the millionth time, you are not going to get any actual Republicans or conservatives commenting on this thread, and if you do, they are going to be downvoted to hell. Story 45. It's a two-man grift. People, keep your eyes on the prize. Lonnie and Dogecoin are where the real danger is coming from. Trump is just the front man to keep us angry and agitated while Leon loads up the van. Story 46. I really want an earth-ending asteroid to come down around now. We've had a run. I don't think we can call it a good one, but I think our time has come. We can't learn from history. Story 47. Ask the subreddit conservative if you want an answer from an actual conservative. Otherwise, the bulk of answers you will get here will be from people who have no idea why conservatives think the way they do. Story 48. I have a coworker that proudly states how much she loves Trump. I am super stumped because she is constantly talking about how bad people should die, and I point this out to her that she is contradicting herself. I wanted to understand what fuels her love for Trump, and she said something along the lines of that anyone who was close to being murdered but survived and continues to fight for their cause is someone righteous and blah blah blah. Just completely delusional. There is no point in trying to argue. In her eyes, he can do no wrong and is thrilled with the way things are going so far. Story 49. I was literally thinking this exact thing as I was scrolling, and lo and behold the lack of comments from the conservatives. Others have commented that the conservative subreddit also hasn't even mentioned it once, which I think is interesting. Unfortunately, even when they do, it probably will just be more praise for President Cheeto. Story 50. The way he said it doesn't really bother me. It's a look at how great I am tweet, and I don't really expect anything less from him. If he were seriously advocating for himself to be the literal king of the United States, that would be another thing.